So today we're going to talk about the hospitality, a couple of topics, hospitality fixtures. Let's see how much we can finish today. So, and then we also will be talking about a bit on accounts payable and general month-end closing. So we will not go through the actual month-end closing. It's just that there are some pointers that it's like a sequence to be able to make sure that nothing is forgotten and everything is accounted for. So that's the general step of month. In the fixed assets. So the first thing a hotel need is a clear accounting policy for fixed assets. So apart from how they will be purchased, how they will be requested, who will be approving them, from accounting perspective, we have to classify what are the assets. So what is the capitalization criteria? Every hotel usually have a very different criteria. Some hotels are taking everything, whatever they buy, whether it's $1 or whether it's $100, into the fixed assets, depending on their life. So basically, they follow the principle that accounting principle, which is generally accepted accounting principle, that if certain assets has a life of more than one accounting period, which means at least a year, and then the future economic benefits will flow to the company, and the cost can be measured properly, it will be regarded as a fixed asset. So in that criteria, even the calculators, the small tables, chairs, those all fall into those criteria, right? Because they can be more lasting more than a year. But certain hotels have taken into the bigger step, like okay, if the fixed asset has to be at least 3 years in life, and then only we will be capitalizing them. Certain hotels are putting it on to the amount. So if it's more than $200, then only we will be classifying them as a fixed asset. Otherwise, we will charge them to the expense. So it depends really based on how big is the hotel, how small is the hotel. So the first step is to have a capitalization criteria based on the hotel size. The larger is the hotel, the higher will be the capitalization criteria. It means the higher will be the limit of the minimum purchase, minimum amount spent to capitalize. So the capitalization criteria works in either individual assets or likewise assets which you are buying in bulk. So for example, you may be buying an iron with the iron board for the room. So if the hotel has 200 rooms, even though the cost of one iron may be $20, but when you buy for 200 rooms, it becomes 4,000. So usually the policy should provide an individual asset criteria and also a bulk criteria if you are buying in bulk. Right, so that's the first thing you need to have in your policy. So it can be based on amount, and then it can be also based on the type of assets. So many times the hotels does not recognize operating equipments as a fixed assets. They recognize operating equipments as an inventory. So whether you are talking about the glassware, chinaware, silverware, some items in the minibar or minibar itself, iron boards, hangers, those things are considered as operating equipment rather than fixed asset. So it depends on the hotel by hotel. What are they putting up? What are the limits of the amount? But the general policies that we have applied so far in Shangri-La hotels. Basically, I have not worked in other hotels. So they follow the principles of materiality, right? So they define that if the individual value of the asset is more than, let's say, $100, then only we will classify it as a fixed asset. Otherwise, it will be going to the expenses rather immediately. Because the hotel size is also quite large, right? They have a $50 million worth of annual turnover, so they can afford it. But if a small hotel like is making only $10,000 in a month, charging $400 or $300 into the expense can be quite a big amount for their profitability. So it depends on the hotel size, right? So that's the one criteria. Then the other things that the policy would be defining is how we value the assets. So the valuation of the assets would be usually is the cost of purchase, installation cost, trial runs, sometimes trial runs, unless the trial runs are not required to start using the asset. The hotel may choose to do the trial run by themselves, but it may not be the requirement from the supplier. So in that case, the trial run cannot be capitalized. It will rather be put into the expenses. But the hotel can decide to do trial runs as many times as they want. But it will not be part of the assets. But unless the supplier is dictating that no, you need to do a trial run first, we will go and install the machine, for example, a big laundry machine. They will go and install, they will run the machine for some time, run the boiler for some time. So there will be some trial run cost. So those costs can be capitalized together uh, with the cost of asset. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more in later details. Then the other aspects which a policy should be dealing with is depreciation. How we are going to charge the depreciation, whether we are going to use a straight line method, whether we are going to use a written down value, whether or it will be based on the and what will be the life of assets. So how much would be the standard life of asset, because every asset will not have the same life. So you have to group them, right? You have to group them between 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So depreciation policy has to be clear, whether it's going to be proportional or not, whether you're going to be charging a full year depreciation in the first month itself or not. So it all depends on the hotel policy and also the local tax policy. So you have to follow the local tax policy. What are they saying? So that you are not really different. Then the other aspect you have to talk about is the controls on the disposal. So how we are going to control the disposal of assets, who will be the person to authorize the disposal, how we will dispose, what will be the process, how we will record the receivable, how we will record the disposal, whether we're going to have a fixed assets or register or not, and how we are going to count them, how many years, every year count them, or every 2 years we're going to count them, or every 4 years we're going to count them. So there has to be a clear policy on this aspect as well. So let's talk about the capitalization first. So, when you normally capitalize the asset, so this is again very important aspect apart from what assets will be classified. That depends on the accounting policy that the company is following. But the important question is also that when you are going to capitalize the asset. So usually you have two choice. You have two choices, whether whenever you are making the payments, sometimes you have to make a 20% payment, 30% payment in advance, 50% payment for construction, and then you sometimes you have to do the final settlement. So many hotels, they by mistake, the accountant, they start to capitalize based on the date of payment itself, immediately, right? Rather than basing it on to the completion of the assets. The correct accounting treatment is always to wait for the completion of installation or whenever it's ready to use. So the important criteria is when the hotel is able to use the asset, not when they are actually using, right? So there's a difference. Whether the sometimes the hotel buy, let's say, a ice machine they buy, and then the ice machine is just a plug and play, so you don't need to really install anything. You just have to do a little bit of plumbing. But from the supplier point of view, you don't have to do anything. For them, it's just you just can start anytime, right? So let's say the hotel buy the ice machine, and then they in the month of August, and then they put it in the store because the engineering team is very busy and they are not able to do the installation of the plumbing requirements, and the kitchen does not have enough space. So they keep it in the store, and then for a month they don't do anything. Next month, when in the month of September, they start to do the plumbing, and then they install the asset, right? So the correct policy is always not when we make the payment, but when we actually receive the asset and it's ready to use into the hotel. Now if you have to do some installation to actually use the machine, that's the hotel's problem, right? So it doesn't really should delay the capitalization. It should be the on the date when you have actually received it and you are just gonna install that machine by yourself. If the supplier is going to install that machine, then it's a different case, right? Then the machine is not available to use by the hotel from the supplier side. So when the supplier is finishing the installation and they give you the certificate that this is the machine is delivered and it's been tested and it's been installed, that date should be the date of capitalization for the purpose of fixed assets. So that's the criteria on when to capitalize. Now, how to capitalize? What is the classification for recording? So usually, there are very few criteria that you normally have in the hotels. So everything else would fit into this. For example, lands, you have buildings, you have furniture, loose furniture, and the fixture which is fixed to the ground, fixed to the wall, fixed to the ceilings, and fixed to the building. Then you have equipments, which will be your electronic equipments, electrical equipments, which you are to use. So in these main categories, you can have subcategories, right? For example, in equipments, you can have electrical equipments, you can have electronic equipments, you can have mechanical equipments, you can have kitchen equipments, you can have engineering equipments, tools and machineries. You can have laundry machines, the smaller laundry machines. The plant and machinery is a much larger, complex system of machines. That's why it's called plant and machinery. So it's different from equipment. Equipments usually are able to use as a standalone by themselves, right? Plant and machinery is a combination of systems. So, for example, your HVAC system is will be called a plant and machinery. Your boiler systems will be called plant and machinery. Your bigger laundry machines like flat work ironer or the dryers will be called plant and machinery because they require other systems to also work for them to work, right? And the chiller systems will be called a plant and machinery. The sewage system will be called plant and machinery because those are bigger systems. So these systems are, so you have to classify them into the proper category because usually hotels will have a separate life for each of the categories. So usually plant and machinery can go for 10 years to 20 years, depending on what is the guarantee or warranty coming with the equipment supplier. So you have to ask the supplier for each and every plant and machinery, what is the life of these assets? So let's say the life of asset is 12 years. So you're not going to use 12 years for depreciating. So you have to maybe have a group of, let's say, around 10 years, around 15 years, around 20 years. So you can have subgroups based on the estimated life of the asset. You can actually actually categorize them into the different categories. So even plant and machinery can be categorized into 10-year life, 15-year life, 20-year life, depending on what you are buying and where you are buying, right? So boilers can go as 20 years, can go on as 20 years and can be also 10 years, depending on what brand you are buying, from where you buy, and what kind of capacity you are buying. Equipments usually are 5 years. Furniture fixtures usually are 5 years because after 5 years the hotels start to drip down. Even though you can, let's say, lose furniture, a chair you may be able to use for 20 years. A mattress, which is considered a furniture and a fixture, mattress can come as a warranty of 20 years, right? Can be there can be a warranty from the supplier that it's going to last for 20 years, but you still usually depreciate it for 5 years or 10 years maximum. Why? Because the hotels are a commercial use entity, not simple home use things. So you have multiple type of guests, heavy, non-heavy. They may be jumping in the room. You don't know. So it can be considered as a industrial use, industrial use of the furniture fixture. And after 5 years, 7 years, usually the luxury hotels tend to renovate themselves. So the luxury hotels are more particular about the life of asset that they describe to the asset, because after at the time of they want to renovate after 10 years, after 7 years to 10 years, they don't want to write off a high net book value. So the the classification is important, and choosing of life is also important. If you choose a very long life, means you will be charging a very small depreciation every year, right? But when you are going to renovate, you're gonna have a very high net book value to write off. Plus, you will have to pay a very high tax. But in case you are putting the life very short, it means that every year you are going to charge a very high depreciation. Even though you will save on tax, even though at the time of renovation there will be nothing, no, no, no net book value to write off, but the actual profit of the display of the profit in the financial statements, especially when you are a listed company, will be very low. So the sentiment of the public is going to be very bad because it means you're not profitable, right? So the common public will always look at the net profit after depreciation and tax. So, and that will be and that also means that you are not allowed to distribute this as a profit, as a dividend to the shareholders. So in that case, the value of the share will go down. Right? So that's why it's important to be very careful in the choosing of category, plus also establishing the life of each category. So building and improvements, how long it can be. So certain local authorities, they have their guidelines, right? If it's a concrete building, it need to be depreciated over 40 years or depreciated over 20 years. If it's a semi-concrete building, maybe made of the wood, it can be for 10 years. So it depends on different type of the set, different type of the material which you are using in the fixed assets into the construction. That will define how long the life of the asset will go on. So you have to consult the engineer in details so that you know what is the real life of the asset and where you should be recording it. Okay. So then there are other categories like roads. Now roads are the not the sometimes the hotel makes the approach road even though they don't own the land, but just to make the approach road easier for the guests to arrive, at least around their area, they make the approach roads right to the inside the hotel, even though they don't own the land. So it means that these roads are not really their asset, correct? But because they spend the money and they cannot charge into the expense, say normally they will recognize this as a fixed assets. Technically they may not own the rent, they may not own the roads, but they will still get the benefit of this road for years to come. So the economic benefits are there even though the legal title of the asset is not there with them. So that's why we normally require even the leased assets. So sometimes when the hotel is, let's say, taken any the building on lease for staff to stay, and they renovated the building. So even though they don't own the building, and maybe the contract also says that they have to leave away the building as it is, even if after the contract is finished. Usually they would put that into the fixed assets until the end of the contract. So if the contract is for 3 years, let's say they renovate the building, say they renovate the building itself, they repainted everything, they change the structure. But the contract says that after 3 years, if the contract is not renewed, they have to leave the asset as is condition. So means whatever they spent is gone. So they would depreciate that asset over 3 years. So that's why the lease asset is a different category or different classification for recording, not a permanent use, or not a permanent, not like your owned assets. So the lease assets are different. And then
So,
yes,
one question.
yes.
For example, third party supplier.
Hmm.
Uh, for example, if I hire a printer,
Uh-huh.
can I do? Can I include in my fixed asset?
Third party printers depends on what is the right of use. So let's say you get a printer for 10 years, and so there is a IFRS, there is a accounting standard for lease, right? So practically you are using the asset for and giving them the lease amount, so rental amount. So it may be a fixed amount or it can be a variable amount. So nowadays the new accounting standards require every asset which you have a right to use. for a longer period of time. So let's say you have a contract with a company for using a printer for 5 years, right? Now this printer is with you for next 5 years, provided you keep on paying your rental. So keep on paying your rental. So if it's a fixed rental, it's easy. You just have to calculate a present value of all the amount that you have to pay in the next 5 years, and that will be your cost of acquisition. So and that is a present value, huh? Not the total value. So let's say you are paying 3000 INR, for example, a month. So in total, you will pay 36,000 in 1 year. In 5 years, you will pay 1,80,000. Correct? My calculation is correct, right?
Sorry, sir. Again.
If let's say you are paying 3,000 a month, so that means you will be paying the supplier 36,000 a year, right? Let's say the contract is for 5 years. So it means in 5 years you're gonna pay him 1,80,000, correct? 180,000. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So this one, so you are not going to say that okay, now this printer cost me 180,000 and I will recognize the liability as 180,000, which I will pay him over a period of time. No, you will have to calculate the present value of this 36,000 for next 5 years by using WACC. So you have to use a discounting factor, which you have to establish by yourself. What is your discounting factor? So it may depends on your hotel company how much you establish your own discounting factor. Let's assume it's 10%. So means you will discount this 36,000 over at the rate of 10% for the next 5 years, right? So let's say the total value comes about 150,000 for hypothetical answer. So this 150,000 will become your right to use. So that will be your cost, and it will also be shown in your liability. Correct? Now every month you are going to pay 36,000. So in total you will pay him 180, but you have recorded only 150. So the balance of 30,000 will go as a cost of financing. That's a new accounting standard, IFRS 16. You can read that. That's the IFRS to put on the leased assets. But the important criteria here is to say that if the printer is identifiable, means that this is the printer that I'm going to use. The machine number is fixed. I cannot change the printer, then it's fine. This treatment is okay. But in case, let's say the agreement says the supplier or the customer can change the printer as at any point of time, because let's say the printer is damaged, I can just return it to the supplier. Supplier is obliged to give me a new one, and I use the new one. So in that case, you are actually uh, not taking the equipment on rent. You are taking the service from the supplier, right? Printing services basically. So what he does is he bring his own printer at your shop. You are doing your printing, and he is gonna charge you per printer. So he will provide the cartridge. He will do everything. So you just paying him per paper. So you just have to use the paper and pay him per paper cost. So that way, so it means that he is not giving you the printer on rent. He is giving you a service, right? So in that case, the essence of the contract is not the printer, but the service. But if you reverse the scenario and say this is let's say you rent a car from a limousine company for using in the hotel, and you rent it for next 10 years. Let's say you bought you ask a Mercedes for next 10 years that you're going to use this car in the hotel, and you're not allowed to change the car. If the car is damaged, you have to pay for it. It means you have basically leased the asset. So you have a right to use. You will recognize the right to use in your fixed assets as your asset, and the present value of all these lease payments as a liability to the supplier. And whenever you are paying, you will just reduce the liabilities and the difference per month, because you will have a difference, right? You will recognize that difference as a finance charge, or you can say lease charge. Okay, does that does that make sense, or it's not clear?
No, I'm understanding. I'm understanding.
Okay, Venki.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So basically, the this is as per the IFRS 16, or you can say IND 16, Accounting Standard 16 on leases. So you can read that. If you are not clear, you can ask me.
Sir, in this case, if I take these asset, okay, I have to build a separate. I have to maintain a separate schedule for these items, or I
Yes.
can include in my like regular items.
No, no, no. It will be a separate one.
Okay. Okay,
It
sir.
will be it should be a separate register because you mix your item.
If I have a software for this, uh, can I include that thing in software, or I
Yeah,
should calculate
software is
manually?
fine. Software is okay. You can put that into software. That's not a problem.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah. So that's the lease assets. Now the next is the landscaping and biological assets. So we will be discussing that in a bit more details in the next coming slides. So, but for the immediate understanding, the landscaping and biological assets are also very important part of the hotels because every hotel has tree, right? Your hotels must have a lot of trees, or they may own fish, or they may own any animals for display or for as a mascot, or they may take it on rent from the government, right? So you may have those kind of things, or you may own rice fields for that matter. So the hotels own sometimes now for nowadays a lot of resorts, especially the resorts, not the small hotels, but the resorts are owning a lot of things, right? They own sea life. They own coral reefs. They own trees, very expensive trees, and they own sometimes the animals who are living in the trees or in those jungles or in those nature reserves. So this is another part of the fixed assets which is not actually depreciation. So there is another accounting standard which I will just give you a brief of that accounting standard for your understanding how we record it. In our hotels in the past, we have not really used this accounting standard because my hotels were mostly the city hotels. But this is usually can be used as a biological asset. Then you have a investment property. So investment property is again another type of asset which is owned by the hotel for rental purposes only. So let's say the hotel has another building next to it, which is a shopping mall, and you have just put out the rentals, right? So nowadays with the integrated complexes, the hotel may own condominiums, the hotel may own service apartment, the hotel may own the offices for rent. So those are not a part of your normal fixed assets. Usually they fall under investment property. So I will share with you in a bit more details how we account for these investment properties. Okay. Now, valuation of fixed assets. How do we value the fixed assets? How do we record them in our register? The first thing is usually we record all our fixed assets, the fixed assets, not the biological assets, not the investment property. So this we are talking about, and not the leased ones. So this I'm talking about only the other categories, not the other than the investment property, other than the biological assets, other than the lease assets. So usually you will record these fixed assets at cost less depreciation. So the cost is going to be your cost price, which is you are paying to the supplier. So if it's in the foreign currency, it will depend. You have to convert that into the local currency, maybe at the date of payments. So that will be part of your fixed assets. If you have not paid any amount, let's say you bought the machine, but the bill is on 30-day credit, so means you will use the foreign currency exchange rate at the date of you receiving the fixed assets. So at the time of your capitalization of fixed assets. So if there is a difference in the foreign currency amount that you are recording and at the time of your payment, that foreign currency, that difference will always go to the profit and loss statement. You are not going to go back to the fixed asset and adjust it. That's a wrong accounting practice. So you should not be doing that if that happens. Then you have to add the import duties if there is any, if these items are imported, minus any subsidy or any import benefit or import subsidy that you have received. So let's say the government has given you, because you are maybe buying the energy saving equipments, and government has nullified a duty, or they say that even if you are paying, let's say, 16% duty, they will give a cashback after the items has arrived. They're gonna give you, let's say, 10% cashback. So it means the import duties you have to adjust if you are sure you are going to get that subsidy. So the you have to adjust the import duties with the subsidies that you are going to receive from the government. If government is giving you the grant to buy these equipment, then also you need to adjust the cost price with the grant that you think you are going to get from the government, and plus the installation and logistics. So logistics is only up if the requirement that the is to the hotel, and the installation is a part of the requirement that the asset has to be used only in installed condition, then you have to recognize this as a fixed asset into the cost. So installation and logistics. The foreign exchange difference we normally don't add into the and into the asset. So is there anything else which is left for recognition into the cost, Venki, from your experience? Anything else?
Sir, one question.
Yes.
If, for example, if asset is like lying in the customs and
Uh-huh.
if unfortunately it could not clear and there is a demurrage charges,
Hmm.
can we
Well, that actually technically is not. This cost is not necessary for bringing the asset into the present condition. So basically, the cost that you add into the fixed assets is only the cost which are required to bring the asset into the present condition. So the delay in clearing is not really a required cost, right? It's just because of the is not cleared because of any reasons. So ideally, it should not be recognized as a fixed asset. It should not be added to the fixed asset. It should be put that as an expense into the line items, into the P&L immediately. But again, it's practical question. Sometimes if it's a big amount, the FC or the GM may not want to hit their P&L with that amount, right? So then the only choice is you have to add into the fixed assets. But technically, it's not. Yeah.
rest all is clear, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. So that's the cost of fixed assets. Then the depreciation, how we calculate the depreciation. So because our valuation is based on cost less depreciation, right? The depreciation is based on the useful life of asset. Now, useful life of asset, usually you have to determine when. At the beginning of the asset. When you bought the asset, you know what is the useful life of the asset, and then you're gonna build into your fixed asset register that this particular asset is going to last me 10 years. And how you're going to get that? You are going to base your supplier prescription, your engineer prescription, how long this asset will last, or not only last, how much of its useful life. So when you think the hotel will be able to use it in as per their standard, right? For example, you can take a chair. Now the chair, which is a wood chair, if you use after 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, it will start to the polish will go. The it will get very shaky sometimes, unless you don't unless you have to spend a lot of money to again put that into the renovation and then overhaul the assets. Then only you will be able to reuse them after a long period of time, or after spending a certain money. So you have to see what is the useful life based on the hotel standard or the asset, especially the kitchen equipment, the guest show equipment. those equipment which are in the display of guests. So they usually are 4 year, 5 year, 7 year, 10 years at max, right? So you have to take the useful life of the asset, not the actual life, based on the experience. Actual life can be larger, can be longer, but we have to take the useful life. So it's based on the useful life. So you have to establish that useful life beforehand. So once you know the useful life, so you have a two choice. One is to straight use the straight line method. Means if my, let's say my asset is 10,000, right, and I know that is going to last me for 10 years. Now I have a choice. Either I use 10,000 divide by 10, 1,000 each year, or I can use written down value. Means I will establish a rate which will bring down my value to minimum order at the end of 10 years. But in the initial year it will be having a high depreciation. In the later year it will have a smaller depreciation because of the useful life of the asset. So the understanding behind the written down value is that the most of the value from the asset will be coming in during the initial year of life, initial year of its life, not the entire year. But in hospitality, we usually have a very strong preventive maintenance. We maintain our assets very well, and because we are utilizing the asset throughout the whole period, so there's no, not like we are going to use the asset in the first year only, or after that the usefulness of this asset is going to go down. No, it doesn't work like this, right, in hospitality. So the most of the time we are using a straight line method. So that's the most preferred method because it's easy, and also we assume that the asset is going to be maintained to give its usefulness until the entire length of the useful life, right? So that's the criteria. But here is another item which we forgot, is that the depreciation is only calculated on cost minus the residual value. So what is the residual value of the asset? For example, you bought a laundry machine for 10,000. Now, after 10 years, you think that, oh, even though I have to sell this off, let's say after 10 years, it will not be useful, but I can still sell. And even after sell, I will be able to get at least 1,000 as a scrap value from this machine, right? In that case, you are going to depreciate only 9,000, not the whole 10,000. So you have to establish the residual value when at the beginning of the asset already. You have to estimate that value. So you may not know exactly, but you have to estimate that. So you have to say, okay, if my asset is 10,000 now, after 10 years, when I sell this, it's gonna be only maybe 1,000. So means I need to depreciate only 9,000 over the period of 10 years. So the depreciation is not going to be 10,000 divided by 10, 1,000. It's going to be 9,000 divided by 10, e 900 only. So that's the important thing which I have seen. No, normally no hotel does it. They usually take the whole cost and they depreciate it over the next useful life of the asset. Is that true, Venki, in your hotel also?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But the accounting standard requires you to have a residual value and depreciate only the net amount, not the entire amount. That's the thing. But practically, because it is very difficult to identify the or estimate the residual value of the asset. That's why the whole amount is distributed. So that's the practical expedient. Okay. And if there is any improvement, let's say into the you have done any overhaul of laundry machine, because after 5 years you found that the machine is not really performing well. So in order to use it for another 5 years, you overhaul the machine. So that overhauling cost, if it's major cost and it's actually to increase the value, increase the life of the useful life of the asset, at that point of time, it will be depreciated over the original life of the asset. So it means it will be only onto the remaining life of the asset. So even if you are updating something, it will be depreciated on the original life. So if original life is left only for 3 years, you will depreciate it over 3 years. So that's an important understanding that you need to have. And uh,
Sir,
yes,
like, as you said, overhauling of a DG machine or something. Like if like DG machine is a asset, I do overhauling. Can I that expense of overhauling I can put in fixes?
yes, but depends on the what is the purpose of overhauling. If purpose of overhauling, purpose of after overhauling, let's say the DG now uh, is is working fine, but you have to overhaul because of the it's getting older, and you think that it's gonna be last only 1 or 2 years. But after overhauling, you can use it for another 3 years or 4 years. So it means basically you are increasing the life of the DG. If that is the case, then you should not be putting that into the expense. You should put that into the fixed asset and depreciate over the next 2 years. But if let's say you say that the overhauling is just to use it efficient, is actually not increasing the life of the DG itself. The DG, the generator will still end its useful life after, let's say, 2 years, even after we do the overhauling. Overhauling is just only to ensure the efficiency is up there, because after a certain time, generators lose their efficiency to generate the electricity and the fuel they consume. So usually you have to keep them overhauled so that the amount of fuel they consume is actually translated into the energy at the right production level. So for that kind of overhauling is going to go into the cost, into the P&L. But if they actually increase the life of the generator, then it will be into the capital. So that technical details only engineering can tell. But you can estimate that only by looking at the total value of the expense, compare it with the actual cost of the DG at that point of time, new DG of similar capacity. How much is that? How much you are actually spending on to the DG to overhaul? If it's like, you can say, if it's about between 20 to 30%, it means you may not be increasing the life of the asset. You are just overhauling it to use it efficiently. But if it's up to, right, 50% or 30 to 50% or 60%, then it means you are really really spending money to increase the life of the useful life of the DG itself. So that's a different consideration. You also have to see what is the life increase, and what if you spend a new machine, how much life you will get from it, and how much the efficiency. So that's a capital expenditure. So that's a different thing. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So the another aspect that I see many hotels not does not do it. Even sometimes my hotel does not do it, is the component of big items, component of bigger machineries, right? So we had a big problem in our hotels also when this standard was just launched. That time is were revised. So basically, what it says is, let's say a machine is a mixture of multiple parts. So a boiler system will have a boiler, will have pumps, will have uh, uh, cooling system, will also have a heating system. So those are different parts of the machine, and they have different life, right? They are not all 10 years of life. They may be dying in 5 years. Some of them may die in 20 years. Then you have some plumbing which dies in every 10 years or every 5 years. So basically, the point of saying is that the big machines, for example, chiller system, boiler system, laundry, MEP systems, fire and life safety systems, you cannot put them into one group and one life of asset, right? So everything goes into that life. No, you have to split the full machine or full plant and machinery into smaller components which may have a similar life, right? So the water pumps may have life of 5 years, the plumbing may have a life of 10 years, the other component may have life of 15 years. So you have to break down the machine into multiple components which are similar life. So every big machine has to be broken down, and their depreciation has to be charged based on their component life, not based on the one full life of the. So it's a very difficult task to be done. I don't know if Venki you have done it.
No, sir, I have not got this.
Yeah, so many have not done it because it's not very easy, and if you have an existing hotel, it's even more difficult because you already have depreciated the machinery to some extent, and now you cannot divide it into components, right? So that's a very big headache sometimes for the accountants to recognize the fixed assets, especially in hospitality, which use some very large machineries. For example, HVAC system, right? The air conditioning system. So the air conditioning system will have a chiller which may have a life of 20 years, but they also have air filters, the pumps, right? Which are the air, what you call them, the fan coil units, so which has lower life sometimes, and they have duct which has a longer life. So they have different components of the big machines. So you normally have to involve the engineering or the person who install those machines to estimate the life of different components and the value of different components also, because once you are installing the whole system, you know only one cost, the total cost. You don't know the individual component cost, right? So in that case, you have to understand the component, what are the components, what are their life, and what is their value in order to calculate the depreciation correctly. So that is the another system. So HVAC system, chiller, boiler, these are examples of big machines which needs to be broken down into the components. Okay. And then the investment property. So we have another section on investment property. Usually, investment properties initially you recognize at a cost, and then after that you need to revalue that every year. But you have a choice. Either you follow the cost basis or a valuation basis. So let's talk about it at later in the next slide.